Have you ever felt like an alien in your own family? Like no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't shake the feeling that you were born into the wrong world? Too sensitive, too intense, too much? If this hits home, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into the silent struggles of INFJs, the rarest personality type, and the childhood wounds that shape their lives, but nobody talks about. 1. The INFJ child, a square peg in a round world. Imagine being a kid who'd rather read books about philosophy or spend hours daydreaming about saving the world than playing tag with classmates. INFJ children often feel like they're stuck in a world that doesn't understand them. While other kids chase fun, INFJs are busy asking questions like, why do people suffer? Or, what's the meaning of life? This depth isn't something they choose, it's how their minds are wired. Teachers and relatives might call them old souls, or wise beyond their years, but these labels hide a painful truth. INFJ kids feel lonely long before they even understand what loneliness means. They struggle to connect with peers who care more about cartoons than compassion, and this isolation follows them like a shadow. They don't hate people, they just feel invisible in a world that values noise over nuance. 2. The weight of empathy, absorbing emotions like a sponge. INFJs don't just feel emotions, they drown in them. Picture a 7-year-old crying themselves to sleep because their friend's goldfish died, while everyone else moves on in minutes. For INFJ children, empathy isn't a gift, it's a storm they can't escape. They absorb the moods of everyone around them, whether it's a parent's stress or a sibling's sadness. Their hearts ache when they see someone hurting, and they'll go out of their way to comfort others, even if it means ignoring their own needs. But here's the problem. No one teaches them how to protect themselves from this emotional overload. They become the therapist friend by age 10, listening to classmates' problems or calming family fights. Yet, when they need a shoulder to cry on, they're met with confusion. Why are you upset? People ask, not realizing the INFJ has been carrying everyone's pain for years. 3. Why can't you just be normal? The pressure to conform. INFJ kids hear it all the time. Lighten up. Stop overthinking. Why can't you be like other kids? From a young age, they're told their intensity is a flaw. Parents might push them to join sports teams or social events, not understanding that the INFJ child would rather write poetry or volunteer at an animal shelter. Forced to wear a mask of normalcy, these kids learn to hide their quirks. They laugh when they're supposed to laugh, stay quiet when they want to scream, and pretend to care about things that feel meaningless. But this act comes at a cost. Every time they stifle their true selves to fit in, a piece of their identity cracks. By adulthood, many INFJs forget who they even are beneath the layers of performance. The world calls them too serious or too sensitive, but the real tragedy is that they start to believe it. 4. The invisible child. When parents don't get you. Growing up, INFJs often feel like strangers in their own homes. Their parents might be loving but clueless about their child's inner world. For example, an INFJ kid might excitedly share a story they wrote about kindness and magic, only to hear, "That's nice, but focus on your math grades." Practical achievements, like straight A's or tidy rooms, get praised, but their passions for art, music, or helping others are brushed off as cute hobbies. This emotional neglect isn't about abuse, it's about absence. The parent who's too busy working to notice their child's tears. The family that values logic over creativity. Over time, the INFJ learns to bury their dreams, thinking, if my own parents don't care, why should anyone else? They grow up feeling unseen, as if their soul is a language no one speaks. 5. The family therapist, trapped in adult problems. Imagine being 10 years old and playing counselor to your parents. Mom vents about her failing marriage. Dad complains about hating his job. The INFJ child sits there, nodding, offering advice way beyond their years and swallowing every word. They become the family's emotional dumpster, a role they never asked for but can't escape. While other kids worry about homework, INFJs lie awake at night stressing about their parents' finances or their siblings' depression. They feel responsible for fixing everyone's problems, terrified that if they stop, the family will fall apart. But who comforts them? No one. They're praised for being mature or reliable, but inside they're drowning. By the time they're teens, many INFJs develop anxiety or people-pleasing habits, convinced their worth lies in solving others' pain. 6. Bullied for being too much. INFJ kids are easy targets for bullies. Their quiet nature? Labeled weird. Their refusal to gossip or join cliques? Called stuck up. Their kindness? Seen as weakness. Bullies sense the INFJ sensitivity like sharks smell blood, and they attack where it hurts most. For example, a classmate might mock an INFJ for crying during a sad movie, or a sibling might tease them for caring too much about homeless animals. The bullying isn't just about mean words, it's a message that the INFJ's core traits are flaws. Over time, they start to hate their own empathy, viewing it as a curse. They might build walls around their heart, vowing never to let anyone see their softness again. But those walls also trap them in loneliness. 7. The perfectionism trap. I must be good to be loved. For many INFJs, love feels conditional. They learn early, if I'm perfect, I'll be safe. Straight A's. Perfect manners. Always putting others first. They chase achievements like lifelines, terrified that one misstep will make people leave. A child might stay up until 2 a.m. redoing a school project, thinking, if this isn't perfect, mom will be disappointed. But perfectionism is a prison. When they inevitably fail, because no one's perfect, they don't just feel sad, they feel unworthy. They tie their value to what they do, not who they are. Even as adults, INFJs struggle to accept love unless they're useful. They'll overwork, overgive, and over-apologize, all to earn the affection they desperately crave. 8. The crushing fear of abandonment. INFJs don't just fear rejection, they're terrified of it. Why? Because childhood taught them that being too emotional pushes people away. A friend might ghost them after they opened up about their struggles. A parent might withdraw affection when they expressed anger. So INFJs learn to shrink. They become chameleons, changing their opinions, hobbies, even personalities to keep people close. They'll endure toxic relationships, thinking, better this than being alone. But this fear traps them in cycles of anxiety. They overanalyze texts, panic if someone's upset, and apologize for existing. Deep down, they believe, if I'm myself, no one will stay. 9. When daydreaming becomes an escape. When reality feels too harsh, INFJ kids vanish into their imaginations. They create elaborate worlds where they're heroes, loved ones, or simply seen. A child might spend hours in their room, writing stories about magical realms where kindness always wins. At first, this escape is healthy, a way to cope. But over time, fantasy becomes an addiction. They retreat inward, struggling to engage with the real world. Relationships suffer because they'd rather talk to fictional characters than real people. As adults, this habit can lead to dissociation, a foggy feeling of being not really here. The line between daydreams and reality blurs, leaving them stranded in both. 10. The secret shame of being too sensitive. Stop crying. Why are you so dramatic? INFJs hear these phrases so often they start to believe them. They're shamed for crying at movies, overthinking conversations, or needing alone time. Family members might roll their eyes when the INFJ gets upset, saying, "Here we go again." So the child learns to numb their emotions. They might throw themselves into schoolwork, binge-watch TV, or chase toxic relationships, anything to avoid feeling too much. But shutting down emotions doesn't heal the pain, it just buries it. Many INFJs develop anxiety, depression, or chronic fatigue, their bodies screaming what their minds refuse to feel. 11. The silent crisis, identity confusion. INFJs are experts at mirroring others. They know how to act cheerful at parties, nod along to opinions they hate, and hide their quirks to avoid judgment. But beneath the mask, a question haunts them: who am I? By adulthood, many feel like empty shells. They've spent so long being what others want that they've lost themselves. Hobbies, career choices, even relationships feel foreign, like they're living someone else's life. Rebuilding their identity feels like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. They might try on different personalities, the artist, the activist, the loner, but nothing fits. It's a lonely, exhausting journey to find the self they buried in childhood. 12. Breaking the cycle, healing the INFJ soul. Healing begins when INFJs stop blaming themselves. Therapy helps them untangle childhood wounds, while journaling lets them speak truths they've bottled up for decades. Creative outlets, painting, music, writing, become lifelines, helping them reconnect with their stifled passions. It's not easy. Old habits of people-pleasing and perfectionism creep back in. But slowly they learn to set boundaries, to say no without guilt, to prioritize their needs. For the first time, they realize their sensitivity isn't a flaw. It's the courage to feel deeply in a numb world. 13. The radical act of self-parenting. INFJs must become the caregivers they never had. This means reparenting their inner child, soothing their fears, celebrating their quirks, and protecting their energy. They learn to cook meals instead of skipping them, rest instead of overworking, and speak up instead of staying silent. Self-parenting isn't selfish, it's survival. It's buying that journal they've wanted for years, taking a mental health day, or leaving a toxic friendship. With time, INFJs rewrite their story from I'm too much to I am enough. 14. Finding their tribe, the power of being seen. The moment an INFJ meets someone who gets them is life-changing. It might be a friend who says, I love how deeply you care, or a partner who cherishes their quirks. These connections heal old wounds, proving that belonging isn't about fitting in, it's about being truly seen. INFJs thrive in communities of artists, healers, and fellow overthinkers. Here they're not too sensitive, they're valued. They learn to trust again, to love their intensity, and to share their gifts without shame. Their tribe becomes proof that they were never broken, just misunderstood. Conclusion. The childhood trauma of an INFJ isn't a life sentence. These souls aren't shattered, they're sculpted by fire, armed with empathy, resilience, and a vision for a kinder world. To every INFJ listening, your sensitivity is your strength. Your pain has purpose. And your story? It's not over. The world needs your depth, your compassion, and your light. So take up space, speak your truth, and remember you're not too much. You're exactly what this world needs.